What's back with all these. There you go. I was hoping. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. What was it?
Sure, we're happy to. This is a financial planning and allocation commission regular meeting, Wednesday, April 8th, starting at 7 o'clock. And the rules of conduct for this virtual meeting will be both video and audio recorded. All those joining virtually will generally remain on mute except when speaking. If anyone joins virtually and creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recognition of the person running the meeting. For public input before the meeting, email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.gov prior to 24 hours before the meeting. The public may view the video recording of the meeting on YouTube at Town of Columbia CT. Please allow approximately 48 hours after the meeting for the video to be published.
I will have to mention at the budget workshop, not at the regular meeting.
We'll leave it at that.
So, all right, let's call the meeting to order, and that's our table, join the meeting. Stand up. I believe to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess when you go,
Many commissioners had a chance to review the minutes, anybody? Make a motion to approve,
I moved that we approve the menu for H1.
second. You, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are approved. Ninth is a budget workshop. We have requested last week that Board of Selectmen and Board of Ed go back to the table to discuss ways to cut their proposed budgets. Before we get started on this discussion, I want to just acknowledge that we appreciate all the work that people have done, Barbara, Steve, Board of Selectmen, and certainly the town residents. And we need to keep in mind a couple of things as I pondered how passionate people are about some aspects of the budget. We have a responsibility to make sure that the town is safe for our residents to drive on the roads and have access to their homes. We need to make sure that people can afford to live in the town and the tax rate doesn't go so high that people are driven out. We need to make the town attractive to business, which also is affected by a tax rate increase. And we need to make sure that our children receive the best education they can have. So juggling all those priorities are what FiPAC is responsible for. And we take seriously at people's statements of need and concerns, and just would like people to keep in mind that framework. So we had requested the Board of Selectmen make reductions. We have those. So I start with Board of Ed. I don't see these are the words.
It's your meeting.
Significant movements on the Board of Selectmen. Yeah, yeah. There was. Let's start with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so Mark, ready to jump into this? All right. So I'm not sure we made cuts. Made some cuts, okay? We cut the sweeper, you already knew that.
Saves the town about $300,000 or so. We're going to have a service to our, well, this year, in this spring, we'll have our sweeper, our old sweeper do the job, and next year, in this spring, we're gonna contract the service to do the job for us. Okay, that was kind of no brainer. But the reduction that you see this evening in the capital is, I think, very good budgeting. There's concerns that the fire department, our volunteer fire department, continue to get what they need. I took that into extreme consideration when we put this together. But I also understand the situation that we're in financially. I brought it to the board of selectmen last night. I told them two things. We go with the budget we presented and be part of a 5 point something mill rate increase. Where we do some financing, and moving money around, and we do our part to try and not be part of that, bring it down to at least 4 point something. So what you'll see, and I had a job to be responsible, direct, but honest with the fire department, who's there every day for us. That what they need, they should get. Not push it out until they're, you know, driving on 3 wheels and, you know, they're back to the pumper system. And others, you know, I'm being a little funny, but it's not funny. They should get what they asked for years ago when they put this capital program together. But I saw a dip in the capital expenditure after 2 years, not this year, certainly not this year, and certainly not next year when it's programmed for 400,000. But the year after that, it starts going down to about 280, 290. And what I did was just move some money from this year, a total of $137,000 out of the capital fire department needs to be put away. And spread it out over 5 to 8 to 10 years on the schedule that you will see before you here. I didn't save the town anymore. I did some finance moving around. And I'm sticking my neck out here for the fire department, and I'm happy to do it, and they answer the call all the time. Now, I understand in the future, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, we may have to go bond again for some very large infrastructure improvements, and we might be able to put a tanker or an engine on that bond. And then we'll have that money to be able to use for something else. But I'm not sure the town passes a bond for $5 million, which includes $2 million for fire apparatus and $3 million for roads, or $5 million for roads and $3.5 million for fire apparatus for another bond of $8.5 million. I don't know what the future holds truly. I know we have work to do on our roads and our culverts. And we also need to supply them with what they need. If we sold our tanker to Hebert for $25,000, if that's all the value of that, it shows you the value of that apparatus, the life and value of that thing. Okay? So I put a plan together. All right, to Mark, all right, to Bev. Yeah, we can do that. I think we can do that. Sounds. So that's what you'll see tonight. That's our savior. Plus, Bev will go through this, Mark and Bev will go through nickel and diamond here and there, 1,000 here, 1,500 here, we're gonna not move, but we found some savings here. Not a lot. You wanted $1 million? I can't get you $1 million. I can't, I'm not close. Maybe we'll get you 650. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, they'll go over. They've been working day and night. I asked Beth to have it ready for tonight and, you know, God bless her. I don't know how she functions without sleep. But that's what we ask her to do this time of year. So, I ask you to be understanding. You have questions about it, ask your questions. That's what I would do. But I'm not gonna stand here and go, yeah, town did their job. We moved that money. We moved it. We didn't save it. We moved it. And I think it makes a lot of sense in the time of this year for the need. I don't know if we can do it again next year, don't bet on it. But right now, so. Pass it over to Mark.
So if you look under here, the green tab called Board of Selectmen changes to the proposed 26-27 budget as of 4/7/26. There's a Word document to that effect. And Stephen already mentioned that previously we had reduced the sweeper, the net effect, because we have a $30,000 rental fee, and operating now is $296,000, so almost 300. And then FiPAC challenges to add more to that. So I reached out to the department, we were able to cut 22,232 out of operating. With various departments. Some of them, we, in the town finance department. What's that? Oh, no, that's my email. Let's see on there. Oh, try to amend.
Yeah.
Got it.
Everybody avert your eyes until they come in and we actually see who it
I
is.
don't know why they vanished. No, I think they gave up.
It was
All right. So. Town clerk's office found some cuts, the finance department, full-time position just got reduced down to 21 hours.
That's the same person.
Okay, got it. And the Saxony Library, we had a reduction due to, healthcare. Reductions, so that was the 22,000, and then in capital. Road resurfacing, we applied, town aid and road to the road resurfacing budget of 67,000. And we also, that was actually an additional 67,000 that we got in town aid road that we weren't expecting. So the state came through with more money than we had originally budgeted for. And we also had in our town aid road budget built up 271,000 that will apply. And a LoSiP plan of 55,000. 480, so. We're applying $395,405. The net effect of road resurfacing budget is now down to $171,895. And the DPW storage garage that they need. We contacted the state and they said we could use LoSiP funds that we have. But we have to budget the $140,000 for the garage. You can't use LoSiP funds on a non-budgeted and funded project. So the garage has to stay in the budget, but we can offset it with revenue from the state of $140,000, the net effect will be zero.
Can we use those LoSiP funds for something else?
It would have to be in this budget.
Yeah, I know. Well, we have other things in this budget, can it
Has
be
to be
used?
approved capital item, it can't be operating, and there's a list of projects you can apply it to, and somebody.
Is road resurfacing,
Yes, we're already applying about $55,000 to it.
but we could apply the other 140.
So based on what I think we could probably do it, bring that down even further. But I think we still have to go out to bid and so hopefully maybe some of the cost, well, we don't have exactly.
We don't have, we have, quotes will have to be upgraded.
I mean, this is subject to change. I mean, we might just say, hey, I think the building out and we hold the money, but this is some money that we've been holding on to for a couple of years, and this was a request asked for. So we thought we could get 100% funded using the LoSiP money, so thought we just do that into the budget, but you know, the consensus is not to use it towards the building. We'd have to go back to the board of selectmen and ask them if they want to change it. They'd have to approve the change since it's their capital budget.
Next, the fire department, Stephen already explained the $137,000 that we're gonna reallocate further down. And the net effect of capital would be a reduction of $355,390. Adding to the already $296,000. Rethinking of the road sweeper. And we also had additional operating, that 15,000 was earlier.
That's
right?
from that,
That was from the NIP funds, we already addressed that.
that's part of it, so now.
And those are all changes, anything to add to that? Please. What the bonus of the deal.
So I had between the two requests, the last week and this week, it's about $651,000 that we. Think you know,
That's great, and we really appreciate it. So I had asked this question I think this afternoon about using the empty slows. So are you saying that we can't spend all of it on things that we already have in the budget?
so basically, it has been approved capital improvement plan, so between. I know there is a need for the storage building, so basically between the 140 and the road resurfacing, we use up all the most of the funds that are available, including next year's allocation. Cause I applied next year, just so we can use the money, and then there was some LoSiP being used this year for having this tree removal. So, we've had it for a couple of years, and I don't know how long the state's gonna feel okay, because every year I have to report something, and we've been reporting no use of it for the last few years. So, this would be the time to start using it.
I'm all for using it, I'm just thinking.
But it does have to be
Maybe on something else.
Use it on the roads, I kind of feel like.
Yeah,
And then bond for the building, if we need it, if we have a bond coming up, we can include it in bond, because it is that's a long-term building. Which could be bonded. More so than roads, which I think the road resurfacing is more of an annual budget expenditure versus a, building. Should be, is something that makes more sense for bonding,
Agreed.
but we should hear the whole narrative before we make any decisions, I would think.
And then that would be going back to the board of selectmen, and they have the.
I have a question for you. Here it says 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26. Unused LoSiP of 140. 25, 26 is what we're in right now. You
Yeah.
said you used next year's 26, 20.
So we first started getting, LoSiP changed the grant back in 23, 24, and just started giving us whatever the 50 some odd $1,000 each year. The first year we got it towards the end of the year, it was kind of late, pulled up one thing or like, we didn't have what we wanted, so we held it.
No, I understand. My question is
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
this is just my question. Okay, you said you've already put in LoSiP that we haven't received for next year.
So I budgeted it, so we're getting about 55,000, and I got next year.
Yep.
So that will come towards the end of the year, so.
Okay, so that's here. So that's in one road resurfacing. Okay,
Yeah, it's basically what's left over after, we use like to the storage building.
okay.
any other comments or questions? Steve and Mark? Again, I say, I appreciate the work. As well as the little more than 1 mil reduction.
So I guess that is my question, what's the net effect? We just got a big packet when we sat down, so I haven't really looked at everything in it, but the net effect is the 1 million decrease.
Well, with our cuts and what Barbara's gonna present, the mill rate increase would be 4.09. From 18.5 to 15.9.
Ellie, you send this, you have a summary in sheet too.
Is that it?
So,
That was just.
Is that right?
Just handed out.
Upside down.
it might be what you're writing up.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
1.6, right, by 15.
But. That's proposing that we take 800,000 out of the,
No, that was last year's.
well, that's a 26-27 budget,
Right,
proposal.
is that correct?
Stephen, and
No,
I think she's
not
right.
parentheses.
That's a comparison between this year's budget. The summary, this year's budget versus what we're proposing for next year.
So after the line that says total on the top quarter, the next line says BOS general fund transfers out. 25-26 approved was 331. 26-27 proposed is 824,000. What am I missing? It sounds like you're proposing to take 800,000 out of the general.
That's gonna go to various funds, which is showing under page.
No.
Now I understand what you're saying, so I'm sure it's fine.
Page 4, yeah, we have a summary of different funds, the general fund we transfer out. So. The general fund will be sending $824,849. From page 4,
This is page 4 of the proposed 627 budget.
here,
Page 4 of 31.
so capital projects, the general out, the general fund will be $748,559. The general fund also is transferring funds to the dog fund to pay for animal control services. There's another $25,000 to the internal service fund, another $6,500 to the emergency fund we have. $7,550 to Zachary Farm, and our Columbia Beautification Garden Club, we give $1,200. That's a total of $824,849. Last year, we transferred out $331,981, so that's an increase of $492,868. The bulk of it is all going to capital, because you have to fund those projects. And that's after it's $748, because we're applying car money, LoSiP money. There's some interest income on some of that money. And then some of the funding is also available because if there's some carry forwards, which are going to be help paying, like the road resurfacing, there was extra money that wasn't used this year, so that brings that transfer down lower.
So that's the general fund, not the undesignated fund.
Same thing.
And
General fund
then
and
designated.
same. Basically, it's the same thing. It's undesignated fund is, we call it the general fund, it's all the same. Essentially.
Now, you're showing the projected undesignated fund balance at 15.79%.
Yes.
So if we take out, and we want to keep it at 15%. So if we take out 0.79%, how much is that?
Approximately $450,000.
457?
Might be a little more, but it's about 450.
So we can take that out.
If you choose to,
If
yes.
we choose to do that. Okay.
It's cutting it close, but yeah.
Okay.
So basically what you're saying is that it's coming out of the money's coming out of the general fund, but it's not going to be reducing the general fund. The undesignated fund balance.
I mean, that's what, the undesignated fund balance, I mean, that's where the money is coming from. The undesignated fund balance is part of the general fund. It's the money that's available, it's not designated, so we've taken that money, and using it for something else. It's not assigned, it's just a
Right, yeah, I understand that, but the 824, that is 0.79.
The 824, yeah, that would be coming out of basically, I mean, it's already calculated in here. But yeah, basically it's funds available that we have, that we're gonna now take it from undesignated and assign it to the other funds.
But after you take this 824, we'd still have 15.97%. Yes, so we can take another 4 hours later.
So Bev, if we take out the 0.79% of 450,000. How much would that reduce the mill rate?
Not quite enough.
The mill's
Not quite.
Right around the mill?
0.8,
75%, yeah.
0.8.
Okay.
So then you'd be down to about 13.2. Or 3.2.
So it would be 32 point. About 6.
What'd you say?
Yeah, you mill rate that would be great.
Great.
So.
Before we get further discussion about managing the mill rate. Probably. Move to Board of Ed. And, thank you for your, letter, Barbara, and then. I get on top of my time. Sorry. Chunky finances. So. I had for you.
Yeah, so you folks last week asked us to come up with as close as we could to $200,000. So right after the meeting, not that night, but I met, and again, we went line by line over everything. We rechecked numbers. We looked at, we counted our high school numbers to see where we could save anything. That looked at the insurance line, as that had come in a bit lower. So then we started looking, pretty much nickel and diming. We had talked about certain programs that weren't mandated. We started looking at stipends that we wouldn't fill. So out of the salary line, we have some reductions with that. We're gonna get rid of before school care. And the admin and I are talking about how, one of the reasons before school care was had is because it was dangerous on Route 66. When everyone arrives at exactly the same time. So we're looking, to work with Gary, the trooper, to see how we can reroute traffic, so that we can eliminate that. We talked to our Novus team and reduce technology. We have added fees. So for instance, we're gonna charge families, $50 per year for their computers. Which will go into it, to help for repairs. What else did we look at? We had originally, we already took out curricular director. The board discussed pay to play and after school programming. And Bev and I added all these up. We're charging high school your models more this year. They'll be paying $6,000 for full day. And that's it. So then Bev and I presented to the Board of Education what we could do. We can't get to 200 unless, then we have to discuss which programs we want to end. The Board of Education at Monday night, we heard from many parents came and advocated about not changing any programming. They feel it's down to bare bones to start with. So the Board of Ed went through again and they approved $75,000 coming out of salary line. It's the tech line. Some of that will be income. And I also think it's important to note, prior to all of this, capital budget, they didn't put anything into the capital budget this year because they knew the town had all the roads they had to deal with. We need a new math curriculum. We put that off for a year. We wanted to pilot a certain grade. We didn't do that this year. So So $75,000 was what we could add up. Without changing our programming.
So would it be accurate to say if you reduce your budget by more than 75,000, it would mean staff changes?
It could be, it'll be in the salary line for sure.
I mean, one of the things that's really important to me is education. I think the most important thing a community does, and I've said this almost every year, is educate these kids. And so I think it's really important that we make sure that we don't affect the quality of the education that Columbia kids currently receive. So would it be accurate to say that if you reduce the budget by any more, you would affect the quality of education?
100%. I think one thing about the Board of Education, that's very commendable is they're very cognizant of all, learners and all families. So cutting out field trips, why don't the parents just pay? Some parents can't afford the field trip and they're very, very in tune to that so that students aren't alienated. We discussed at the board that we'll maybe pay to play. We could implement that and they're gonna continue discussing pay to play. But one of the board members brought up, well, what if Johnny family can't pay to play, everybody's gonna know. And I tried to share that we would be obviously confidential. But they said everybody would know, so they're very conscious of every student. So to eliminate any sports, to eliminate anything that's not mandated is going to negatively affect students. To the point where we can't go any more bare bones. We don't have anything extra. We don't have the student, what do you call it? We call it home ec, now they call it family consumer science. We don't have that. We don't have, activities that other kids would, especially the middle school kids, would really thrive in that our area towns do have. Yeah, field trips, like what?
Yeah.
Like, we used to call it IA, I don't know if they call it anymore, we don't have that.
Yeah, big eye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, what's IA?
Industrial arts, we used to have, everybody used to have that. Field trips, we pretty much don't go on field trips anymore because we have to charge. Off the top of my head, am I missing anything?
May I do that? Do you have a question to speak?
We're not taking comments.
I don't,
You
you
just
know,
added
I
what you
get a
say.
list of everything that was cut. Oh, I know, like a gym teacher was cut. Do we meet the mandate for gym? We do.
That was
Because you
Yeah,
cut it,
yeah.
last year you cut.
Yeah, we didn't bring it back. So we have families complaining that their kids don't get enough gym. We meet the hours required for gym. But other towns, get more gym. We cut elementary Spanish that same year. So again, other towns get these things. We don't, not mandated.
The dollars exist. You're not getting less than, a lot of similar towns. Your numbers financially are similar to what other towns are getting. And your per pupil expenditures are significant. There's other towns that have 2 buildings that they have to take care of, you only have 1. So the money exists, but somebody's making the choice of how to spend it.
We are lower per pupil compared to Andover, compared to Marlboro. Those are one building.
Yes, you're lower than some towns, but if you look at some of the towns that are in, the DERG that were 19. If you look at the 5 that are below us, the 3 that are above us, we're comparable to them. But we have different test scores. The money is there, it exists, it's just a choice of how you spend it. So what are the choices that you're making with the money that you have is going to personnel and not to field trips. So it's not fair to say that you don't have the money. You have the money, you just are making choices about how to spend it.
we have contracts, and so the choice would be to go up higher. Redoing staffing, and where do you start to do that? Right, what program do we, can we consider cutting? I bring it to the board, I'm
I think
afraid
that's
if we
good.
cut any more, I'm afraid if we cut any more. It's so bare bones that I think you're gonna, on one hand, I know we have. I'm very cognizant of taxes and I don't want people, in the poorhouse. But I do think if you continue to cut the Board of Ed's budget, I do worry about all the families coming.
But
And
But
rallying.
we're not cutting the Board of Education's budget, we're saying go from 7.7% to 5.7% increase. We're not asking you to go below your current budget. I think it's a lot of misinformation that's out there about, how draconian these cuts are. The suggestion was 2% of your increase. It's not that significant of a reduction. It seems to me that it's very hard to say, we always hear that the only thing you can do is cut services to kids. In order to achieve that, when there are other things that you could make other choices about what to
I
spend
would
money on.
invite you to come in and go line by line with me. I've said it from the get-go. Anytime, come in, we will talk about every single line and what it means.
And
I
I'm
also,
looking,
can I cut
Go
in here?
ahead.
I just, on the topic of misinformation. Barbara did provide us with a DERG per pupil expenditure. We're 19 out of 24. So we are among the lowest per pupil expenditure of the group.
right, that's what I'm.
Yeah, you
But
had
I
said you were at the
said,
top.
yeah.
I just wanna make sure that you know that we're among the lowest.
No, I said we're 19th.
You said there were 9 people below us.
No, there's 5 below us and 3 above us.
You said there were
those the
3
8
above us,
that
yes.
I looked at. No, there's many of them above us. I
Yes.
just looked at the 3 that
Which
are
means that
directly above us.
Our numbers are low already.
And I
She
am working.
did say 19th.
Yes.
She said
Okay,
19th.
I misheard.
Because and she said the schools around us comparable to us, 3 and 5, whatever. I don't have that report, so.
Okay.
But she did say that. Because I thought at first I thought she was talking about the district, the 19th district, which our government comes from, and I thought, huh.
I mean, you keep bringing up the test scores. I am excited. The test scores are going up. I cannot wait until these ones that will come out in May or June to see we made such huge progress this year on our interventions. Those students alone, when we look at our in-house screens, have anyone who's receiving intervention, and they'll tell you it has increased incredibly. It's really exciting.
Well, I understand.
Um,
Go ahead, Jimmy.
But about the test scores, like, for budgeting, how is it relevant? Like, we can't say because of your test scores, we want you to cut funding, like it's a punishment, because between Board of Ed and free budget, I've been involved 11 years in town. Doesn't matter what Board of Ed provides, they're always asked to cut no matter what. And last year's town meeting, former person who was involved, I won't name. And she even said, every year we make them cut and every year things work out fine. But then you're gonna complain about test scores. Well, you can't say everything turns out fine and then hold test scores over Board of Ed's head. You can't have it both ways. You either cut them every single year and you take what we get, or then, I don't know, it was like mixed messages. The same person last year said, every year we make them cut and every year things work out fine. And then a half hour later, the same person says, why are test scores so low? Like, well, if everything's fine, then the test scores are fine. You can't say everything's fine. I just get a mixed message.
Well, I think the point about the test scores is that every time we hear that we can't cut the budget because it will impact student performance. And we still have a good budget and we're still having underperforming. When you compare with the 8 surrounding towns that are comparable to us in per pupil spending, the test scores are, with the exception of one of those 8 towns, they are 10 to 20% better than our scores. That's my point. I'm tired of hearing that the reason we're underperforming is because of the financial allocation, and it's not because of the financial allocation, because other towns similarly situated are able to perform well with the same level of funding. That's the only reason I bring up the test scores. I appreciate that the school is trying its best to get those up, and we want you to continue to get those up. I just would like to make sure that you realize we don't come to this uneducated and uninformed. We do our homework. I am very confident that every member of
I'm
this
not
board
trying to
has
pull
done their
roll your
education.
eyes and.
I'm not saying that you are, I'm just saying that we're not just making up numbers. We
Well,
don't make a request for a reduction in a vacuum.
But there's so much more to education performance than a test score. So when
No.
she'll say for the education of the children, she's not saying because of the test score.
I'm
But
not-
there's towns around us that did cut Spanish and they don't have paid for play. And some schools provide free instruments for the kids for music. So all of these things that we're stripping away are part of the educational as a whole for students. If we only look at test score and say our kids are suffering, but kids that go to EO and they're getting solo positions in their choir and they're competing against all of the Mansfield kids. Like how do you say, you can't just say that we're not performing highly against other
I
districts.
also have.
Our kids are coming more well-rounded if we keep shipping all of that away.
I'm only saying that you cannot say that the reason we're underperforming is because of the allocation.
But who is saying that?
We keep hearing people, and it is included in
Do you have
the
a person?
public.
I don't think.
I know.
Mark-
I
It's
hear
it's
that.
in your budget package that they handed out, there's some public comments where they talk about the fact that the underperformance is because of. the
But
lack
not
of
from
funding.
the Board of Education, it's from parents or.
Parents.
Okay.
Well, somebody wrote it, it's kind of the same
It's the
email.
same letter, it's the same letter, yeah.
So-
Yeah,
It's AI, again, damn. So I do have, I'm gonna say this, I'm glad you're excited about the
I'm
scores.
excited.
Great, last year when they asked you to cut, you cut. And now we have good scores coming, so be careful what we say. So the bottom line is.
Spanish, oh, they don't,
What?
so when we cut Spanish, Jen, they didn't,
I know
they
that,
don't go.
but she didn't, I remember last year or the year before, they were gonna cut 11 teachers erroneously put out there and everybody was screaming. And you said, we're not. I remember you stood up and you took the fire and you said, we're not cutting teachers. Class size will remain the same. Everything you've heard, 11 teachers going is incorrect, and I appreciate that. It was a good thing.
And may I say one other thing? Anytime last year when we found all those grant funds to pay for things, we actively went at them. And so that offset, so we were able to give back all that money to the town. So that, did we have to? No, we could have spent it on X, Y, Z. I have to say, I personally, as well as the Board of Ed, are very, very cognizant and fiscally responsible with the town's money.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you one question, because I hear it in meetings and stuff, and it's class sizes. I understand. It's better for a teacher to be able to teach the 13 kids than to 20. But everybody here, intelligent people, probably had class sizes well into the 20s. What happened that we?
So what happened?
Yeah, this is just an, I don't understand it, and it's me, I'm old. I just don't understand how we had to go from 23 to 24 students per class to 13. or
Our class
14.
sizes start small.
Yeah.
And then they grow. By the time, for this coming year, by the time the students get to 6th grade, they're about 20. And that's then on to the middle school. What has happened is back when we all went to school, we were all, you were the smart kids, you were here. You were the regular middle kids, you were here. You were kids who needed help, you were here. That's not the case anymore. Teachers in front of them have students who are here to here and progress. We have students who are English learners. We have students who are gifted. We have students who have behavior issues.
Well, it's just
It has changed, I mean, that's something we can talk about you know, in debate forever as
Well,
far as
I mean-
public education, but that is why.
Okay.
So I don't have anything further on the Board of Education. It sounds like there's no further reductions.
I have a couple of things I'd like to say, just thinking toward the future, because we know that they're going to be interesting, public hearing and town meetings that, the things that are never in the budget that you chose not to ask for don't represent savings, they represent prudence on your part. So if you say we don't have a curriculum director, people immediately think you cut the curriculum director.
I did or you did, yeah, I can be clear, I do not want to.
Please pay attention to that, because, and things that you cut the year before, you know, it's time to move on, I guess I'm saying for that. We can't keep, you know, every year. I mean, I see people that, you know, letters, we've cut teachers every year, we've got, you know, obviously people are uninformed, you're not gonna be able to fix all of that, but I just urge you to do what you can to be very clear with people, again, because emotions are high, and we can't really control the information that's being shared as that.
I know that, and I will do better to make sure everything is clear, but I never give erroneous information when I'm asked. Or misleading.
And I just said, when you stood up and took the fire and said, I never said you were cutting 11. I never, so I was thankful that you did that. So I'm just, but you know.
Any other questions?
Well, I've been, I mean, obviously, knowing that we weren't gonna be able to get to the 200, I looked at other places in the budget that represent roughly 100 to 150,000. And I looked at full line items, the entire budget for our police protection services are 130,000, 131,000. The senior center, the entire budget is 128,000. The elderly transportation services are 154,000. We could eliminate one of those. I would like to know what people think we should eliminate. Since they've said, I mean, the letters say that we should be looking at other things in the budget and stop looking at the Board of Education's budget, we need to look at other things in the budget. I think if that's what the people of the town want us to do, we need to decide what of those services do they want us to cut?
I just have a question. Our mill rate is now down to a 4 increase, 14%. I know you wanted to get to 11. Why could we not? Why do we need further reductions? Why is 11 the number?
Bev, can you tell me what a 4 mil rate on a $400,000 house would be to a homeowner? Per month?
I've done the math. I know.
Okay, can you tell me?
So tell well, no, the top of my head for that number. But I'm not saying that to suggest that we unreasonably increase taxes. It's an honest question, why is 14%?
It's not a
11%?
there is no magic number, it was an attempt to get us down to something that the town would be able to accept, given all of the things that we have to do. It was an effort to get down.
Is it assumed that if we present 14%, it will be rejected? Is
No.
there
I have
any
no idea. I have no idea. The
We have
townspeople
not
may
had
show
a real
up.
increase
of that magnitude?
of that magnitude ever.
Yeah, so we don't know what they'll do.
And people are, you know, we went to 29.7 from 20.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
Yeah,
a one increase was
yeah, people
significant.
react strongly to
and-
that, and
And by the way, we're gonna raise it, let's say, 4 mils this year, but next year when we do the revamp, that's gonna be an exponential increase on people. Because their property values are gonna go up, so the taxes are gonna.
Right, but it'll lower
Next
the mill
year.
rate.
I said not this year,
But taxes are taxes, you could have, like Shelton, Connecticut, I think they have about an 11 mill rate. Each mill is X amount of millions of dollars. I mean, the mill rate means nothing, what means something is what you pay in taxes.
right, sure.
So, and I said it to Judy a month ago. please don't set a budget based on a mill rate you really think you wanna be under where everybody feels good about it. Set a budget that does what's right for the people of the town of Columbia, all the people of the town of Columbia. Now, I was accused 2 years ago, don't put the school against the seniors and everything. That's not what I do. I look at every single person. So when we go to 4, an increase of 4 mills on a $400,000 house, it is significant.
It's about $1,150.
Well, it's $100 extra a month. I talked to a gentleman, and now here's another program I'm looking at. Freezing property tax increases for people who get a certain criteria. Elderly, been here a long time, make less than. So they're not gonna pay any more than what they pay now, which means it'll go on to other people. So there may not be a lot of people on it. You know, state last year passed something where veterans who are at a certain disability rating. Now, I'm a veteran. I do have a disability rating, I'm not close to 100%, okay? And I thought they did it incorrectly, and I fought my senator on this, but we lost about $100,000 in tax money. Cause they were awarded property tax abatement, full property tax abatement on their dwellings. Cost the town about $100,000. Okay, state legislation mandated on us. But I talked to a gentleman, he said he makes $1,250 a month on Social Security, his wife makes almost that, a little bit less. They have a house that, based on the price of the houses that are going, probably a $400,000 house, maybe $350,000. I said, do you live on your Social Security? He goes, we take out a savings every month for a little bit here and there. Okay, now I'm gonna ask him to pay another $100 a month. There's people out there like that.
But that
Already
person will
paying
come,
$8,000.
that person will come to the meeting and vote the budget down, right?
They may, they may, and that's the other thing, you know, I don't know, you believe me, a lot of the elderly people, they're not looking and rallying behind Facebook cry. Okay,
Yeah, one quick thing, speaking as a very elderly person, and my peer group is elderly. I don't have, and I have scores of friends here in town. I don't have a single person who doesn't value education, who would not support the education budget. So, I mean, you can cite examples like you're doing, Steve. So I think overall, elderly people think education is terribly important and don't want to do anything that's gonna have a negative impact on educating their kids.
okay, and nothing, that's great, and nothing to do with what I'm talking about with capping property taxes for people who we're going to take care of people. We're going, so, I don't know what'll happen if people vote this down. If they shoot it back to us, guess what? I got nothing. Really, I have nothing in the operating. Do I go back to townspeople, to the workers here and say, you don't deserve your raise? I'm sorry, I gotta take it out of you. Or, we don't pave roads, or it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult. And then guess what? When we don't pass them, if nobody can make any more cuts, I guess we just keep working off the current one and cuts will be made just by that, right?
Okay, two more quick things. One is, let's, if we take the 0.79% from the fund balance.
Let me change that. I did a quick calculation. We can only take 175 if we're gonna stay at 15%.
I'm sorry,
We can only take 175 to stay at 15%.
175,
Yep.
175?
Yep.
So that, Steve, that's that now we're down like 0.4, you know, it's a much lesser.
And well, we should take as much as we can. I thought it was gonna be more than. But the other thing is, let's remember that in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a public hearing and we'll find out what the public in Columbia thinks of all of this. And I think we should, and I'll make a motion at some point, but I think we should approve the budgets as presented. Take as much money from the fund balance as we can, and then present that at the public hearing and see how people react. That's
I
what
would
we
just
were
like to
hoping.
offer the opinion that I feel strongly that it's much better to have the discussion in this room as opposed to throw it out to the floor and have people, as I mentioned before, working off incomplete information and high emotion, making all kinds of statements that we're gonna walk out with the truth and inflaming it because we're not willing to spend more time on this or do the hard part. That is how I see it.
I'm not sure what else, I mean, we've asked, both the Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen to make cuts, and they have. And to tell the truth, I'm impressed by the amount of work that Steve and Barbara have done, and Mark, and Bev, but the next step is to get input from the community about this, rather than worrying about how people might react. So let's vote. Matter of fact, I'll make a motion right now. I move that we approve. Hmm?
We're not ready for this.
Well, now we're gonna put that, okay, but anyway, let's settle on a budget. And then see what people think, and then if there is strong opposition to it, time. Then we can talk some more about reducing it, because we don't finalize the budget until after the public hearing anyway. Right?
That's right. Right.
But I agree, I'm willing to stay as late as we need to stay, and I'm willing to come back next week. I mean, I know we don't have a meeting, but if we need to, this is important enough to make sure that we're giving the town the best budget that we collectively, as the three boards can do, so I'm willing to put in the extra time.
Come back next week. And I know when, we understand.
We got. That's it, is school vacation. So, any other thoughts about this,
I think that at times we're taking away things from the students, we're doing this. We're not charging them for, we're charging them for musical instruments, we got rid of field trips. And you take that money, but you compare it to a $1,200 per year tax increase. I think they'd rather not have the tax increase than those instruments, it's. So I think that in one hand, we become very penny wise and take away things, but we don't look at. And it's not just the parents of the students that are paying it, it's everybody in the town.
The students do rent their instruments with their band.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We took that cost, as you said, some towns give them.
I did that,
yeah.
But, well, some towns in South Carolina have different tax structures for children with parents with students and parents of retired people, or no children. I think that would be illegal in Connecticut, but, so there are people who do different things.
I mean, again, we don't wanna pit the older residents against the young.
No,
families.
I wasn't suggesting.
I was going to.
Good Lord, I'm just saying.
I didn't think that was, I thought finished. No, I wouldn't,
I said, I think it would be illegal in the state.
right, yes, it would be. But I just, you have to consider that, because of the nature of this town, there are so many people who've lived here for so many years who are, house rich and cash poor, they paid off their houses, they own their houses, but that's not doing them any good because the tax rate keeps going up and will eventually hit something that forces them to do a decision. And I know you told me, and I'm sure there's some of those stories, so.
But the Board of Ed, the parents that did speak up, did mention taxes. And they did share that they are willing to pay more taxes. Now, again, obviously, most of them were family members, but there was, I think, a grandmother of somebody. So.
There are good things that are happening in town. Okay, the grand list is. Will probably go up with, I stated this. With the dealerships and the tunnels opening up. We're looking at ways to raise revenue to help with our infrastructure. You know, but I'm getting pushback on some of these things and we'll fight. As I think it makes sense to do some things. But nothing is set in stone, so I can't lay it out there. I mean, I'm trying to offset energy costs, electrical stuff, like putting in solar all over, but it's not approved yet. So we're looking, the board of selectmen are looking at a lot of different ways to try and offset any increase. But nothing's guaranteed, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time and it's a lot of hoping. And then when the state goes like this with the dartboard and they go, ah, son of a bitch, Columbia, so close. You were so close. And we don't get certain things like grants, you know? I'd love to say we're gonna get grants for all the roads, but Doubleday's projected to cost us over $2 million for that road. Somebody said today, oh, I looked out Doubleday, it's potholes and cracking on the sides and we have to take care of that. There's just so many things to look at, and I've said it, this year is 1 year, next year is another year. So you add $1,000 to somebody's home taxes this year, and then it's another 1,000 next year, and so I'm looking at ways to cap it for elderly people who fit that criteria. I haven't even decided on the criteria yet, but we're looking at it. So I'm glad the parents of these young kids are happy to pay more, because they will pay more. They will pay more, and it's not, I get it, I'll be paying more too, because thankfully my wife and I have done okay in life, we're not rich, but I don't meet any of the criteria, not yet 75 or 72, whatever we choose, and we do okay with money and stuff, but you know, we're gonna make some moves, so people will pay more, and the other thing is, you talked about people not being able to pay for sports or pay for field trips and stuff like that. If their taxes go up, they certainly won't be able to pay for them, so it's like a double-edged sword there.
Definitely, point to those terms, yeah.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, so.
I mean, it's not. The Board of Ed's budget is not done lightly at all, every single finds.
So you know, from FiPAC here, I don't. Kind of think, and I would say, send it to the town, because I don't know where you expect to cut to again. I really don't.
Well, I just, as long as people understand, we send it to the town and when they reject it. And lest we wanna just keep trying to wear them away by presenting the same budget, which I understand sometimes it happens in some places. We'll be back at the same drawing board.
But it's an if, not, you said when they reject it, it's an if, that it might not be rejected. And I don't think any of the groups that we've spoken to have left anything that couldn't be taken out. It sounds like you haven't, and it sounds like the Board of Education hasn't. So my comment about, you know, presenting the 14% increase, when you were talking about, do we cut from the senior line? It just doesn't seem like there's anything left to cut. Like, it's gonna cost money to redo Doubleday, and it needs to get done. Like, things cost money. And it is very frustrating. Right.
That's the challenge. You can't just say to people, this is the way it is, because they have the
Correct.
power of voting down the budget.
But that's my point. And if this is too much, then people will vote it down. But
then we.
and then I realize, but then we're back to the place that, but
Right.
then
realize
there's
that
a choice,
If
right?
if they do vote it down, we run the risk of not being able to send out tax bills in July, because we won't have a mill rate. So I mean, it's not something to say, well, we'll just let them vote it down and then we'll come back and we'll decide again.
But
We
when
actually
do those,
prejudice the interest
I
of the
understand,
by
of
that.
course, but when do
So-
the tax bills go out? It's
July 1. They have to be ready to go by July 1.
So we never assumed that a budget would be rejected before, we don't have any time built in, is what you're telling me.
No, we
There's
have
no
no
time.
time, the state controls the time, but the budgets have to be done. It's, we adhere to that
We'll
timeline,
vote every week
we'll vote every week, right?
until we have a budget.
Yeah, exactly.
In worst case, you send out last year's mill rate.
And that's the new bill. And then we have to do
You're operating on last
probably a
year's.
supplemental bill after that.
Right, at costs, that those all those things cost us money, so the goal is to try to get as close as we can to something we think the town can live with. At the end of the day, if we can't, and the town votes it down, then so be it, we come back and we try again.
But that's my question, are we so sure that this isn't something the town can live with? Where it sounds like everyone's assuming if we present this budget, it will immediately be rejected. And we'll go past July,
No,
which I just feel like is absolute worst case scenario. And if there is a place to cut, we can go line by line, I will stay and go line by line, we can cut what is unnecessary. But is there anything left that's unnecessary?
If I was one betting man, I'm telling you. I think the budget would probably pass. Not because everybody's happy spending the taxes, but the people who attend.
There's 100 people who show up, will vote for it. What we usually have left with-
72 to, my math is right, 28. But I wasn't good in math at school, I was one of those kids off in the corner. Look at me now.
We're old now. not
You
great
was-
business.
So. Yes, you got work to do, I got.
So Judy, do we have to make a decision on what to recommend for the public hearing? Or we can go to the public hearing, present the different budgets as presented?
No, I think we
We
have.
have to have a budget.
Yeah.
So we have to make a
Proposed budget.
decision.
Yeah.
Right, we have to move this budget
There'll be a
forward.
presentation that night to present and then public, right? No, I think you do it somewhere, but
Yeah,
you do like a presentation to the public, I believe, to the thing, and they ask you a question.
right, that's for the public hearing part, for people who are. No, it was, for the public hearing, and then the town meeting is where the vote occurs, and that is now scheduled, I think, for.
On the second.
The 22nd. For public hearing, and the town budget meeting would be
May 12th.
on May 12th. So.
I think we've talked this out. I don't know if there's much else that we need to say. So why don't we just have a motion and settle on a budget, a tentative budget that we would present to the public hearing.
I just have one question, Madam Chair, are you sending it back to the Board of Selectmen for the $140,000 or you're not? You know,
I'd like to, but in the grand scheme of things, if
Yeah,
if you can't get any other adjustments, what's the difference?
Yeah,
If we're gonna leave it up to the town to decide, let's leave it up to the town to decide. I don't wanna waste another time to come back just for that one.
right,
Yes.
yeah, that's.
That's the low SIP one?
Yeah,
I have another question. Would you, normally you set the mill rate after the budget passes,
correct.
but I've seen towns use undesignated fund when they present at the public hearing to show what they're anticipating the mill rate to be. Would you want to use the 175,000 to bring that undesignated fund to 15? Or leave it as the budget is?
I
Leave it as is, I know you.
I think we should reduce the percentage of the fund balance to 15%.
Frankly, to it is 0.3, that we're good from the,
And again,
175, I would say wait and see what we get, because I don't wanna cut the fund balance
yeah,
any further.
and we don't know what's gonna happen if something else has to come out of the undesignated fund in the next few months.
Right, it's
You
too
know,
close.
We're cutting it too close.
So we could need repairs to spillway, there are other things
Yeah,
looming.
Yeah, there's a $50,000 thing.
A cistern, well, right now we're putting that in short-term financing, that's the goal,
Cistern,
the system.
and will be added to the bond.
That's already factored into the bond as short-term financing, it won't be in the bond, pay it off before it gets bonded. In the 2 years before we bond.
The system will get paid off after the first short ban comes due, and we'll remove it. Before.
How is it paid off?
So what is it when you go through the ban at the end of the year, you have to make a payment. So we'll pay that off at the thing and lower the ban to the next portion,
So in that payment, you designate when you'd like to pay it off?
I believe so.
Yeah, so if you look in that chart under the bond abandonment, you see the cistern, and then right before bonding, the cistern goes away. So we'll factor in.
And when you bond, it's, you end up with bonding what you actually wanna bond, and when the project's done, you wanna say, okay. Before I pay this off, then whatever goes to bond is what you actually gonna spend 20 years paying for.
Okay, so entertain a motion on budget.
And well, I move that we approve the budgets as presented by the Board of Education with the reductions that they came up with, and the Board of Selectmen with their reduction. And you're suggesting that we need the percentage for the fund balance alone for the time being. Okay, then that would be a
Okay, to Jesse, before we go to second, could we say move it forward as opposed to approve?
Yes,
okay, move it forward. I like that wording better, right?
Well, Robert's Rules of Order said that if you have not recognized the second yet, you have to
That's right.
vote, so you can do whatever you
That's
want.
fine.
You, as long, whenever you hear a bad motion, just hold a minute,
Right.
you haven't recognized any.
That's right.
Actually, I
That's
think
what
if
it is
you-
modified by the chair.
I think if you look at the town charter, by the way, it's understood that the process is that we approve a budget that would be presented at the town meeting, and then the whole purpose of the town meeting is get input from the community and then make modifications afterwards, depending on how people react. Anyway, that's.
All right, all in favor of moving forward with budget?
Did you second?
Was there? Oh, I second.
Kelly.
Kelly second. Say aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries, we'll move forward with this budget. Thank you, everyone, for your work today. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we don't have the motion to adjourn. So, yeah, so we won't meet next week, but it wasn't scheduled. So, and our next meeting is then on 4/22. Right here.
Look, 5 has to follow,
Regular meeting, but regular Friday. And all, meet on third Friday, second. Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Like, second.
13.
Who's second, who's second? Yeah. You are,